And we have a special guest who is a member and a friend and a wonderful woman, also a Unity minister, Reverend Jackie Leccia. She's going to come up and share with us.
Christmas is a very important holiday for billions of people around the earth. Now, according to the four Gospels and the New Testament of the Bible, it's a celebration of the birth of a child born to Mary, whose pregnancy was called an immaculate conception because it was not sexual, but it came about as a result of a blessing from an angel. The angel told her that the child would be called Jesus, which meant Savior, and the angel told her that this child would be a blessing to the world. Now, Spirit came to Joseph, a carpenter, in a dream telling him that the child was going to be from the Holy Spirit. And that dream convinced Joseph to take on the role of the child's father. The couple had traveled to Bethlehem for a census, so the child was born in a stable because there was no room in that tiny inn. Animals surrounded him, and a star in the east fulfilled a prophecy of a king's birth. So 3 wise men followed that star to the stable and presented the infant with gifts. Now Herod, the king at the time, heard of this prophecy, and he tried to find the child and wanted to slay him. And the child grew up to fulfill the prophecy. Now that story, it sounds strange and almost unbelievable, has aspects that are difficult for our rational mind to grasp. It's almost like parts of a fairy tale. Yet it's no stranger than a story that I heard about how Tibetan monks found the Dalai Lama when he was born to a poor family in the rural area of Tibet. Now I heard this firsthand, all the mystical details from Mr. Narbu, who was the brother of the Dalai Lama. And Mr. Narbu spent many years vacationing in the Palm Beaches, and only to teach many of us about Buddhism at Unity of Palm Beaches. Whether one wants to believe parts or any of this story about the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, the life of this man, born of lowly circumstances, can have meaning if we look inside ourselves for a metaphysical, beyond the physical meaning. That is, looking at it from the perspective and considering how we can learn and benefit from it. Now, Jesus was a historical man, while Christ represents the new spiritual man, the one of a higher state of consciousness that comes about from either a transformational experience or a series of transformational experiences that are out of the ordinary. The transformation of his mind resulted in his, what we call Christ consciousness, by which he was able to demonstrate miracles and heal the sick and to raise the dead and to resurrect his body from death. But this is the important thing that I got from that message. He said, "These things I do, and also you can do, and greater things than these." Now, it doesn't mean we're all going to go raise the dead, but we have within us that same consciousness to do wonderful things, to create a heaven on earth in our life here. Now, achieving that state of consciousness is possible for anyone. Buddha and all the other great mystics who lived down through the ages had that same being, that recognition of that higher consciousness. It doesn't matter what we call it. It's a transformational experience that results in a change, an interchange that lifts the person up. Now, there have been many names down through the ages and through the different religions of what you call this. It would be higher consciousness, super consciousness, objective consciousness, Buddhic consciousness, cosmic consciousness, God consciousness, God realization, samadhi, perfection. And a few even reserve this for calling it an avatar or a descendant of God in form. Whatever we call it, it denotes the consciousness of a human being that transcends the ordinary part of their life and begins to live from a higher state of being. And we're talking about light today, not the light that we see here, but our inner light. That light is a reality within all creation. It's the reality of our own potential inside. All overcoming, all self-expression is the inevitable effect of the dawning of light within someone, and that is infusion within their life around them. Jean Houston wrote in her book, The Possible Human, "We are coated with the possibilities and potentials, few of which we ever learn to use. We can no longer continue to be half-light versions of ourselves. The complexities of our time require a greater and wiser use of our innate capabilities." She goes on further to describe the possible human, or someone living from their Christ consciousness. She says, "The one who makes a fuller use of all the treasures of their mind-body system, who has the vision of the possible along with the opportunity to learn new ways of being, who can discover and enjoy a fuller expression of their mind-body experience that grants them entry into a larger world than even their aspirations, more complex than their dreams. Further, in discovering themselves, they are better equipped to deal with the complex issues and challenges of modern life. They seem to gain a passion for the possible, for making a better world." And I like that, a passion for the possible. Jesus, who Ernest Holmes said was the greatest mystic, represented this spiritual man who had evolved to be completely cognizant of his spiritual nature as a child of God and an heir of the sonship and everything that that entailed. When we are in the state of Christ consciousness ourselves, we recognize that there is one life, and that life flows through us and through everything else. We know that in the depths of our being, that there is an energy, a creative life force, that is the light force that gives us life. In the beginning, according to the Old Testament, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. In the New Testament, Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others." And it was written that he was not the light, but came to bear witness to the light, the true light that enlivens each and every one of us. As Jesus the man grew in consciousness, he was transformed from the historical Jesus, born in Bethlehem, to the spiritual man, the Christ. And he fully realized his connection with the light inside him, just like Buddha did, and many others. And he learned how to use that light in powerful ways. This is the goal of all truth students who come to places like this, to read and study and learn the laws of the universe, which are real truth principles. These are known by mystics down through the ages, and we come together in classes and seminars to learn these and internalize them within ourselves so that we can demonstrate this higher consciousness. Edgar Cayce wrote, This Christ story is imbued with a timeless dimension and transcendental nature that can nourish all who seek light in the present time. The birth story has the potential to awaken in us the awareness of our own need to give birth to the highest and best within ourselves, so that we can become greater expressions of God's love and light. Now, the perfect concept of what spiritual birth means can only be known by those who seek to experience it themselves. It's not something you can hear about, read about, learn even the wisdom from it, but we need to experience ourselves in the center of our being to really know its meaning. And although we're talking about it in December, when it's time for remembering the birth of Jesus, this can happen at any time and multiple times as we raise our mind and hearts and consciousness. We have the will to decide where we're going to direct our thoughts and our attention. What we choose to think about, what we dwell on, either increases or decreases our consciousness. It's our choice and ours alone to focus on what we desire, what we love, what we dislike. Everything thought, every emotion felt is an opportunity. We can lift up every thought and every feeling into a higher state by focusing on all the good and the positive things we experience. Thereby, we awaken that consciousness, resulting in manifestations of our dreams that are in line with our intentions and our desires. Now, Dr. Christine Page wrote in her book, Spiritual Alchemy, How to Transform Your Life, when we organize and strengthen our own inner light, it becomes a laser-like, coherent, cogent power. Then we will become capable of transforming energy into matter. We have failed to fully appreciate this potential. We're oblivious of the strength that awaits within. The divine force, though, is truly with us, in us. So every time we take an idea and bring it into manifestation, we generate energy, a buildup of energy, which slowly and surely increases our personal power, our personal force, our brilliance of our inner light, drawing us toward a state of enlightenment, which is our birthright. You know, in The Seed of the Soul, Gary Zukav wrote, that we are a system of light beings, and there's a frequency to our words and our thoughts. And certain words have a low frequency. Certain energies have a low frequency. And we know those: anger, resentment, unforgiveness. And when we put our focus down there, we actually vibrate in that level. But the words also that have the power to uplift us bring us up into that higher state. Love, harmony, peace, joy. Christ and Buddha lived the life they were meant to live. And they did the things they were meant to do. They were fully aware of their personal power and their ability to fulfill their destiny on their own terms, because they had attained the consciousness of pure light beings. And they recognized that their life and their power came from the oneness within them, the source of all being. We get to decide each and every day, each and every moment, if we are ready to accept the role of the spiritualized human being and act from a place of power and strength and wisdom and love. Consider this. What would it be like to be living your full potential right now? What work would you be doing or not doing? How would you spend your time? How would your life be different than it is right now? Imagine how it would feel to walk your life path with full confidence, being fully conscious and aware, without fear. Our destiny as spiritual human beings is to know ourselves, accept ourselves, and use all of what we were given to the best of our abilities. We're multifaceted beings of light with innate skills and potentials that are only ours. And we have a purpose. And we have a plan of something to fulfill. Now, it's possible to increase our light and to attain that Christ consciousness. First, we have to make our present state of consciousness receptive to light energies. We have to raise our consciousness. We have to say the words, do the things that empower us, because our mental, physical, and emotional states have a direct effect on our ability to let light flow into us and through us. Think of it as a delicate flower. To nourish and to grow strong and healthy, it has to have certain conditions, the right amount of water, light, fertilizer. And if you do anything too much or not enough, that flower will die. We've also learned through science that certain kind of music played around plants make them flourish. And we've also heard about studies where words and thoughts and things said, if you scream at plants, they wither. But if you speak to them loving terms, they flourish. Now, peace, harmony, kindness, gentleness promote that flow of light, while loudness, anger, harshness, aggressiveness impede it. But even more so, when we think about our physical bodies, there's something to be gained there. Because cortisol, the stress hormone, is so toxic to our physical body that it also has a profound effect on our ability to be peaceful, to be harmonious, gentle, or kind. When we're afraid or we're threatened or we're argumentative or defensive or upset or angry or perturbed or anxious or peeved or irritated, perplexed, we're experiencing a whole range of negative emotions, which brings our light energy down. And when our adrenal glands start releasing that cortisol, and it floods every organ of our body, causing damage, we think it's just affecting us on the outside by our breathing or our blood pressure going up. But those signs are signs that something's also happening to us internally. So becoming agitated or perplexed stops the flow. So what we want to do is do whatever we can to bring more light into our life. Well, there are a lot of ways to do that. Focus on the positive. Stay away from the negative if possible. Choose words of high frequency and avoid dwelling on negative situations and words. Now, there's something I've used in the last few months has been very helpful to me, because I've had a problem with letting go of things in the past. Hurts. They seem to come up to me over and over again. And so I started having a blessing thought. So whenever a person came up to me that I felt hurt me in the past, I said this affirmation: I bless you and wish all the best for you. And I said it repeatedly. Now, we know from science and neuroplasticity that every time we think of something, we build a little connection of neural networks. So when we think about something that hurt us or upset us, that neural network gets stronger. And every time we think about it, it gets stronger, stronger, stronger. We can't get rid of the neural network. But we can create a more positive neural network, that every time we think of that person or that situation, we bless it. We don't go into any more details, and it doesn't matter how far along the line you are of thinking about it. As soon as you're aware of it, to say, I bless you, I wish the best for you. What you're actually saying is, I release you and let you go. And what will happen is that person will not come up to you as often. Pretty soon, it won't happen at all. when we're tense and stressed out, we can't be our best selves. We're not going to be able to hear the messages from Spirit, because Spirit is the small, still, quiet voice. It's that intuition in the gut. So, not only during this time when everything's going on with Christmas, avoid stressful people. People that stress you out and situations. Choose your friendships and acquaintances carefully. Spend time with people who empower you, who see that light in you, and address that. Well, sometimes we can't avoid the stressors. We have to work with them, or we're married to, and they're our mother or father or something. So what we can do is, when we're going to be with that person in that situation, we prepare ourselves in advance. You start that morning by getting up a little earlier, and we take the time to meditate. We get ourselves in a peaceful place. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I don't have the time. We have to make the time to center ourselves, to keep ourselves calm, so that when we get into that situation, we can try to remember it. And really, that's what meditation is for. You do that apart, so that your body knows the meditative state. They call it the relaxation response. And you practice that, because then when you are in a situation that you don't want to be in, and you have to be in, you get your body into the relaxation response. And when that happens, you won't react in the same way, and what that person is doing or saying will not affect you in the same way. And one of the important things to do is to spend time alone. And I know Reverend Marcia puts it on her Google Calendar, to go bike riding. But I'm talking about alone time, quiet, where you do nothing but maybe listen to some New Age or classical music. Or you spend that time reading for pleasure. And I've just learned this lately, because I read always for a project and for higher consciousness. And I'm reading that teacher and this teacher, and a friend got me back into reading just for pleasure. I found that something happened to my body. I relaxed, and I began reading more, because I felt like I was getting the same benefit as when I was sitting meditating. And it was a pleasurable experience. And the other thing that we could do to increase the Christ consciousness is to be mindful. That's a big thing today. Everybody's talking about mindfulness. But if anybody remembers Ram Dass, be here now. Being aware of what's going on in the present moment, not worrying about what happened in the past or what might happen or what somebody else is doing right now, but to be inside on what's happening and beware, fully present for each and every person. When someone's talking and we're not thinking about the next thing to say, but we are listening. That is when the Christ consciousness is flourishing and the light is continuing to build inside us. So this morning, whether you come from a background of Christianity, whether you have any feelings about, the Christ story, the birth story, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, doesn't matter. What matters is how we feel inside. And I'm going to say to each and one of you, I wish you a Merry Christmas, that you would have the birth of the Christ within you, so that you could experience more and more of the Christ consciousness and have the things of your dreams and your intentions. And so it is.